All right, this is Unit 4, question number 1. Let's look at the question. Which graph represents the following equation? So we have y equals x plus 5. If you come over here and you write down, okay, well, what is the slope and what is the y-intercept? You should remember that whatever is in front of x is your slope, and whatever is this portion is your y-intercept. So if I look at this equation, the positive 5 is going to be my y-intercept, and my slope is in front of x, and if there's nothing there, it's 1 over 1. So that means I would go up 1 and over 1. But the first thing I would check for is the y-intercept. That means that point has to be on the y-axis. That's the one that goes up and down. They are labeled. So we're looking for which one of these graphs has a spot where it crosses a y-axis at positive 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's nothing there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing there. This crosses at 5, and then it crosses down at negative 5. So the correct answer is graph C. We didn't even have to worry about the slope on this one. Question number 2. Which equation represents the ordered pairs in the table? So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. One is if you look at all your answer choices, they all have slopes. So what I could do is I could come to this graph and I could find the slope. So I could take 2 points and its change in y over change in x. So if I look at my y column, how would I go from 5 to 10? That's plus 5. And then my change in y is from 10 to 20. Whoops, so that's plus 10, not plus 20. So we have 5 over 10, and if I want to simplify that, I know 5 goes into both of these, so it would simplify to a slope of 1/2, and that would be answer choice C. Another way you can think about this is, this says in order to get y, I'm going to take my x and multiply it by a number. So you could check this with your calculator. This says 2 times x should give me y. So if I check the first one, 2 times 10 would give me 20, not 5. So it can't be that one. So the next one says in order to get y, I would take 5 and multiply it times x. So the x here is 10. 5 times 10 is 50, not 5, so it's not that one. And then lastly, I could plug in this one right here. 1/2 times x, 1/2 times 10, you type that in your calculator, and it does give you 5. 1/2 times 20 gives you 10, and you want to check all of them. 1/2 times 30 gives you 1/2. So that means that C is the correct answer. Number 3, which statement identifies the slope of the line and the ordered pair of the point on the graph? So the first thing is I'm going to look at the ordered pair. So when you're trying to find the ordered pair, you always start at the origin. You're going to go left to right. In order to get to this point, I'm going to go to the right 3, so that's positive 3, and then I'm going to go up 6. So the ordered pair is 3, 6. So that helps me eliminate this answer choice and this one. Now I'm going to look at the slope. So what I do is I start at the y-intercept, and here's the y-intercept here, and I see my point, so I'm going to count how far up and how far over do I have to go in order to reach that point. So it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over 1, 2, 3. What I want to do is always simplify this. So 6 divided by 3, I know that 3 goes into both of these. So that would give me 2 over 1, or just 2. So my slope is 2, and the point is 3, 6. All right, number 4. Which equation written in the form of y equals x plus b represents the table of values? So once again, there's a couple of ways you can do this. When you look at all your answer choices, you see that they all have a y-intercept. And one thing about the y-intercept, x is always 0. So what I can do is I can look and see, do I have a 0 in the x column? No, I have 2, 3, 4, 5. And over here I have 10, 11, 12, 13. But what I do notice is there's a pattern. So every time this is 5, 4, 3, 2, my next number would be 1, and then I would have 0. And that's what I want in order to find the y-intercept. So on this side, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and 8. So in this case, my y-intercept is 8. There's another way you could solve this. When you look at this, this says in order to get y, you take x and you add 1. So if I take my x, which is 2, and I add 1, I get 3 and not 10, so that's not it. This one says you would add 5 to x. 5 plus 2 is 7, not 10. This one, 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. 8 plus 3 is 11. 8 plus 4 is 12. And 8 plus 5 is 13. And this one just doesn't make sense. 10 plus 2 would be 12, so that's not it. So there's two different ways that you could have found the answer. Number 5, which graph shows a y-intercept of -6 and passes through the point with the ordered pair of 7, 1? So I always check the y-intercept first, so I go to the y-axis and I find -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the line does not touch there. I go down to -6, there's no line there. There is a line on -6 at this point, and this one has a y-intercept of 0, so nothing here. So we didn't even have to check the point. All we had to do was look at the y-intercept, and the answer is graph C. Number 6, Malaya walks 3 feet each second. The table represents the relationship. So they did give you a table here, so that's good. X represents the number of seconds, and Y represents the number of feet. Which statement is true? So it gives us an equation. So in this case, we have a y-intercept, and here we have a slope. This says the slope is 1/3, and the slope is 3. So let's take this table and find the slope, see what we get. So the slope is change in y over change in x. So I can take any 2 points, and here's the y column. So in order to go from 9 to 12, that's +3. So that goes on top, +3. And on the bottom, it goes from 3 to 4. That's my change in x. So I have a 1. 3 divided by 1 just gives me 3. So my slope is 3. And we know that this is incorrect because there's no 3 in front of the x, so it's not A. The equation is y equals 1/3. That's not the correct slope. It should be 3. The slope of the line representing the relationship is 1/3. No. The slope of the line is 3. So the answer is D. All right. Select the correct answers from the drop-down choices below. A line contains the points represented by the table. This says the slope of the line is equal to blank, and the equation of the line is blank. So in this case, we need to find the slope. So once again, we have change in y over change in x. So we pick 2 points, and we look at the y column first to go from 6 to 8, that's +2. And to go from 3 to 4, change in x is +1. So that gives us 2 as our slope. So the slope of the line is equal to 2. So you should drag and drop that there. And the equation of the line is, that means we need to have the 2 in front of x. So it would be y equals 2x. So that is this one right here. So you would have dragged this one to that box. Number 8, Zach runs 2.5 miles each day. Let x represent the number of days Zach runs, and y be the total number of miles he runs. So y is going to be total miles. So that's going to be equal to, it says he runs 2.5 miles each day. So anytime it says each or per, that's what you're going to be multiplying times the number of days. So the answer in this case should have been answer choice B. Number 9, which graph has a slope of 1/2 and passes through the point with the ordered pair of 4, 2? So the first thing I'm going to check is the ordered pair. So 4, 2 means we're going to start at the origin, and we're going to go to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 2. And in this case, there's no line there. Start at the origin again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That one's good so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's out of the question. That's out of the question. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I did that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 2. 1, 2. So it's between graph D and graph B. So now we're going to check the slope. The slope is 1/2. So what that means is I need to go up 1 and over 2. So what I like to do is I like to go from the y-intercept and just count up. So I need to go up 1 and over 2. And there's no line there. So let's check this one. Here's my y-intercept. Up 1 and over 2, and it's directly on the line. If we did it again, up 1 and over 2, and it's still on the line. So the correct answer is graph B. Number 10, which equation is represented by this graph? So on your graph, I want you to tell me what is the y-intercept and what is the slope. So the y-intercept, look along the y-axis and see where it touches. It touches at positive 2. So the y-intercept is positive 2. And the slope, if I wanted to find it, how far up and how far over to stay on the line. So I would go up 1 and over 1. So you need to remember slope-intercept form. So we need to put our y-intercept back here, and our slope is 1, so we don't need to write anything. So it would just be y equals x plus 2, because 2 is our y-intercept.